The symbolism in this episode is layered like a map, one that traces Tommy's downfall before it happens. The envelope, the bar name, the car plate, the colors, they all tie together. They're reminders that in the Power universe, nothing is random. Every object, every frame, every pause means something. And what it all points to is this: Tommy's not just running his own story anymore. He's walking into the next chapter of a much older war. One that started in New York's dark corners and never really ended. The question isn't whether Tommy will survive, it's whether he'll recognize the warning signs before the lions come for him. Because in this world, clues aren't meant to guide you out, they're meant to mark your grave. When Tommy Egan pulled that trigger, he didn't just end a life, he reopened an old chapter that the Power universe had quietly sealed years ago. What he doesn't know yet is that his so-called victory is being watched, studied, and possibly even applauded, but not by his allies. Somewhere across state lines, in a quiet, dimly lit room in New York, the wrong people are talking about him, and when the Mafia starts talking, it's never just talk. The connection between Tommy and the New York Mafia isn't random, and it isn't new. It's a story that's been buried beneath years of chaos, betrayal, and silence. To understand it, you have to rewind, not to Chicago, but to the days when Ghost and Tommy ruled the streets of New York. Back then, the Italian families had an understanding with Ghost. There was structure, a kind of respect between the new money hustlers and the old bloodline bosses. But when Ghost's ambition grew and his hands reached into the wrong pockets, that peace started to rot. Ghost made deals with Milan, Lobos, and even the Serbs, and every one of those moves came with Mafia attention. When he fell, the families didn't forget who stood beside him: Tommy Egan. Tommy was always the wild card, the muscle that moved faster than logic, the man who didn't answer to anyone. And in the Mafia world, that kind of man is a problem. The old families value rules, quiet, order, tradition. They don't forgive chaos, and Tommy is chaos in human form. For years, they left him alone because New York was busy cleaning up its own mess after Ghost's death. But now, with Tommy building his empire in Chicago, crossing supply lines and eliminating distributors connected to the East Coast, his name is back on their table. The man Tommy killed, that nobody dealer, wasn't random. He was connected through blood, a nephew to a mid-level operator in the Bianchi family. The Bianchis aren't flashy like the Morettis or the Carusos. They don't sit at fancy clubs or shoot people in daylight. They're patient, subtle, and calculated. When they lose someone, they don't go to war. They make a plan. And word is, that plan now has a name on it: Tommy Egan. What makes this even more dangerous is the political tension between Chicago and New York. The drug routes Tommy is controlling now used to be part of a shared network, a quiet understanding between Mafia families and local players. By claiming it as his own, Tommy didn't just make a business move, he made a declaration. In their eyes, it's disrespect, an outsider rewriting tradition. In the Mafia world, tradition is sacred. You can negotiate power, you can split money, but you never rewrite bloodlines. There's another layer here, a whisper that Tommy's actions might actually be part of a setup. Some fans believe someone in his own crew tipped off New York about his expansion plans. Maybe D-Mac's fear, or Claudia's secret moves, or even a deal made by a rival gang leader trying to protect his own skin. Whoever it was, they might have dropped Tommy's name to the wrong ear. And now the Bianchis have a reason to make him a target. And once you're on their list, there's no negotiation. No middle ground, just silence and disappearance. The crossover potential is too strong to ignore. Power has always loved weaving stories across cities, and this one feels deliberate. The tone, the dialogue, even the sudden mentions of East Coast heat all point to something bigger. Maybe a return of characters tied to Ghost's old world. Imagine Vincent, or even a surviving member of the old syndicate, stepping back into the story. It wouldn't just be revenge, it would be reclamation. The Mafia wants to remind everyone that before Tommy, before Ghost, before Chicago, New York was the kingdom. And let's not forget the emotional thread. Tommy's connection to New York isn't just business, it's personal. That city made him who he is. Every scar, every grudge, every ghost. So when that world begins to reach out again, it's more than danger knocking, it's memory. The city that shaped him is now sending its shadows after him. And deep down, Tommy knows he can't run from it. You can leave New York, but New York never leaves you. What makes this connection terrifying is how silent it is. There's no gunfire, no warning, just small signs, a phone call that drops mid-sentence, a new car parked too long across the street, a package with no return address. It's psychological warfare, the kind Tommy doesn't do well with. He understands direct violence, not invisible threats. That's what the Mafia thrives on: fear without sound, revenge without witnesses. If you look closer, the show is building a pattern, the old versus the new. Tommy represents modern chaos, while the Mafia stands for the old order. Their collision isn't just about territory, it's about legacy. It's the same fight Ghost once had, now reborn in a different city. But this time, there's no Ghost to balance the fire. There's only Tommy, unpredictable, reckless, and alone. So the real question isn't will the Mafia come for him, it's when they do, who will stand with him? Because in this world, loyalty is currency, and Tommy's running low. The streets of New York might have gone quiet, but make no mistake, the lion in chains is awake again. And when it moves, it doesn't roar. It hunts. Tommy Egan has always been a man of contradictions. A storm dressed like a soldier. He moves through the world with fire in his eyes and chaos in his hands. But behind all that rage sits a simple truth. Tommy doesn't want power. He wants purpose. Every violent decision, every reckless move, every big mistake we've seen him make isn't about greed or dominance. It's about trying to fill an emptiness he can't name. That's what makes him one of the most tragic characters in the Power universe. He's not evil, he's lost. And every time he tries to build something new, it's really a desperate attempt to rebuild the pieces of himself he's been losing since New York. Tommy's mind is like a war zone where two soldiers are always fighting. The loyal brother and the wounded son. On one side, he's the enforcer, the man who'll do anything for the people he loves, no matter how violent it gets. On the other side, he's the orphan, the kid who never felt like he truly belonged anywhere. That inner split defines everything he does. When Ghost died, Tommy didn't just lose a partner. He lost the only person who balanced him. Ghost thought before he acted. Tommy acted before he thought. Together, they were dangerous, but complete. Alone, Tommy is an open wound, bleeding loyalty in a world that only respects power. This is why Tommy's mistakes aren't accidents, they're patterns. He repeats them because he's addicted to the feeling of control, even when that control costs him everything. Killing, expanding, dominating, it's how he silences the noise in his head. But deep down, he knows every win is temporary. The more he conquers, the more hollow he feels. The truth is, Tommy doesn't crave peace because peace feels like weakness. Stillness makes him face himself, and that's the one fight he's afraid of losing. What makes this season different is that the writers are slowly stripping away his armor. You see it in the quiet moments, the look in his eyes after a deal goes wrong, the second of hesitation before he pulls the trigger, the rare silence after someone says Ghost's name. It's like the weight of every decision is starting to press down on him, and he's realizing that no matter how far he runs from New York, he's still haunted by it. His past isn't chasing him, it's living inside him. Psychologically, Tommy is a man addicted to movement. Standing still feels like dying. He doesn't plan, he reacts. That's why he's such a powerful street figure. He's unpredictable. But it's also why he's his own worst enemy. His impulsiveness makes him magnetic to chaos. He walks into every situation thinking violence will solve it, because violence is the one language he's fluent in. But that's the irony for someone who's so good at destruction. Tommy has never learned how to build something that lasts. Every relationship, every alliance, every family he's ever tried to form, ends up crumbling under the weight of his pride. There's also a deeper emotional layer that Power Book 4, Force is beginning to explore. Tommy's fear of being ordinary. He's not just running from enemies. He's running from the idea that without the streets, he's no one. In New York, he was Ghost's right hand, the legend in the shadows. In Chicago, he's trying to prove that he doesn't need anyone to define him. But every move he makes screams the opposite. His hunger to be respected, to be feared, to be remembered. That's not power. That's pain. It's the cry of a man who wants the world to notice that he still matters. Tommy's loyalty is both his greatest gift and his greatest curse. When he loves someone, he gives them everything, no hesitation, no doubt. But when that love turns to betrayal, he becomes something else entirely. He doesn't forgive, he doesn't negotiate, he erases. That black and white mindset makes him dangerous, but it also isolates him, because in Tommy's world, there's no middle. Tommy Egan has always been the man who plays with fire, but this time, he's about to get burned. In the latest season of Power Book 4, Force, one small choice he made might be the biggest mistake of his life. It's not about who he shot or who he betrayed, it's about who was watching. Because when you cross into New York territory, you're not just stepping on enemies, you're stepping into the shadows of the Mafia. It all starts with a move that looks smart in the moment, bold. Classic Tommy, but it sets off a chain of reactions that even he can't control. In the streets of Chicago, Tommy's built a reputation for being untouchable, unpredictable, and fearless. But the truth is, that same energy that makes him powerful is the same thing that blinds him. He doesn't stop to think, he doesn't measure the risks, he just acts. And this time, that instinct pushes him straight into a trap that's been waiting for him all along. The episode opens with Tommy trying to expand his network, moving into new supply lines, taking over corners that don't belong to him. It's not just about the product, it's about control. He's out here trying to build an empire, something bigger than what Ghost ever dreamed of. But there's one thing Tommy doesn't realize. The corners he's taking now used to belong to someone else. People with deeper roots, older connections, and a name that still carries weight all the way back to New York. When he takes out one of their guys, he thinks it's just business, just another night, another body in a world full of bodies. But the move doesn't go unseen. That man wasn't just a random soldier, he was part of a family that traces back to the Bianchis, one of the quiet mafia players that's been sitting in the background since the old power days. They're not flashy, they don't fight in the streets, they wait, they observe, and when they strike, they do it clean. Tommy, though, doesn't see that. He's too busy flexing his control, calling the shots, proving that Chicago belongs to him. But that's the mistake. He doesn't realize Chicago has always been a shared city. Lines run between cartels, gangs, and mafia families, and by pushing too far, Tommy's not just breaking the rules, he's rewriting them. The problem is, the people he's rewriting them against don't play by new rules. They play by bloodlines. And then comes the clue. Small, easy to miss if you're not paying attention. After the hit, Tommy's crew finds a black envelope marked with a gold insignia. No one recognizes it at first, but fans of the Power universe might have noticed something. That gold crest. It's the same design seen years ago in one of Ghost's old meetings back in New York. A meeting where he tried to broker peace with an Italian family. That connection is everything. It means Tommy didn't just take out a local supplier, he killed someone under mafia protection. This isn't about territory anymore. It's about respect, tradition, and revenge. The streets are whispering, and names are starting to surface again. Old money, old power. The kind of people who don't care about drugs or corners, they care about messages. And Tommy, without even knowing it, has just sent them one loud and clear. I'm not afraid of you. The problem is, they don't care if he's afraid, they care if he's alive. And what makes it worse is that Tommy's closest people are starting to sense it too. His crew can feel something in the air, that uneasy silence that comes before a storm. The kind of silence that means someone bigger is watching. They try to warn him, but Tommy's pride always gets in the way. He laughs it off. He thinks it's paranoia, but deep down, he knows the streets don't stay quiet for long. That's the moment his big mistake truly takes form, not when he pulls the trigger, but when he refuses to see the consequences. That's the thing about Tommy. He's a soldier, not a strategist. He lives moment to moment, and that's what makes him dangerous, but also what makes him vulnerable. Every empire he's ever tried to build crumbles the same way, not because of enemies, but because of himself. By the end of the episode, the camera lingers on Tommy walking through the dark streets, unaware that a car is following him from a distance. The headlights never flash, the engine never roars, it just follows. That's how the mafia plays. Silent, patient, and when they move, they don't give warnings, they erase problems. Tommy's mistake isn't just crossing a line, it's not realizing who drew that line in the first place. He's about to learn that New York doesn't stay buried forever. The ghosts he left behind are watching, waiting, and maybe even smiling. Because for Tommy Egan, every victory is just the setup for his next downfall. And this one, it might be the one that finally brings him home, to the place where it all began. In every great story, the truth doesn't just sit in plain sight, it hides in symbols, in details we overlook when the action pulls us in. Power Book 4. Force has always done this with care, dropping visual hints that mean more than words. In this latest episode, the clues around Tommy's mistake aren't just background noise, they're warnings written in code. And when you start connecting them, they form a chilling message. The past is coming for Tommy, and it's dressed in the colors of the New York Mafia. The first symbol appears right after the shootout. A single black envelope, trimmed with gold. No writing, no signature, just that elegant mark, a lion wrapped in chains. It's subtle, but fans who've followed the Power universe from the beginning will recognize it. Years ago, that same emblem showed up in Power Season 4. on a briefcase Ghost handed to a mysterious Italian contact in New York. That meeting was about peace, about boundaries between business and blood. But Ghost broke that deal when he went after Milan, and now Tommy's repeating history, attacking someone tied to that same circle. Without knowing, the lion still guards its pride. But it doesn't stop there. The lion isn't just a logo, it's a metaphor. In mythology, the lion represents strength, dominance, and family. But when it's bound in chains, it's a warning. It says, power is useless without control. That's Tommy's curse. He has power, he has dominance, but no control. Every choice he makes is pure emotion, loyalty, anger, grief, and the universe keeps throwing him reminders that he's becoming the same kind of ghost. His old partner once was Dot. Another clue sits quietly in the background of one scene. A bar sign. The name doesn't seem important at first, Porta, but the word means door in Italian. It's a doorway between two worlds, Chicago and New York, present and past. When Tommy stands outside that bar, he's literally standing at a threshold. And the way the camera lingers there isn't by accident, it's foreshadowing. The door he's about to open leads straight back to the Mafia ties Ghost tried to bury years ago. The director uses color as language to notice how the lighting changes in Tommy's scenes. In earlier episodes, he's often framed in cold blues and gray tones, the look of Chicago steel, the chill of control. But in this episode, the color shifts. There's gold and red everywhere, the reflection of the headlights, the labels on bottles, even the lining of Tommy's new jacket. Gold for greed, red for blood. Together, they echo the Mafia's silent code: money, honor, and death. The city is warning him, but Tommy's too deep in his own pride to listen. One of the most overlooked clues comes from dialogue. A few words exchanged by a background character in a diner. He says, he shouldn't have touched the East Line. That's old territory. Most viewers would miss it, but the East Line has history. In Power, Ghost mentioned the East Docks when talking about shipments coming from the East Coast, a route protected by New York families. By moving his product through that channel, Tommy isn't just expanding, he's trespassing. It's like walking into someone's church and taking money from their plate. It's a sign of deep disrespect. Then there's the car, that silent one following Tommy at the end of the episode. If you pause just right, you'll see something that changes everything. The car's license plate starts with NYX. On its own, it means nothing. But Nyx in Greek mythology is the goddess of the night, the bringer of shadows and vengeance. Combine that with the New York abbreviation, and it's a poetic signature. The night is coming for him. And it's coming from New York. Even Tommy's behavior mirrors his past, which might be the most powerful clue of all. Every time he gets close to building something solid, it's the same emotional loop that haunted Ghost, the obsession with control, the hunger for legacy, the need to prove he's untouchable. The writers know this, and they build the symbolism around it. Tommy isn't fighting enemies outside, he's fighting ghosts inside. The Mafia connection isn't just physical, it's spiritual. It's the past demanding payment for old sins. And Tommy's actions just reopened the debt. Fans have also pointed out something small but haunting: the sound design. During certain moments, when Tommy stands alone, there's a faint echo of a subway rumble. But Chicago doesn't have that sound. It's the sound of New York's underground. It's subtle, almost like a whisper from his past life. It suggests that even when he thinks he's escaped that world, New York is still under his skin, vibrating through every decision he makes.